Unmask the supernatural. Explore the history and future of parapsychology. Analyze legends and folklore. And welcome entertaining and informative guests as they probe irresistible mysteries that continue to haunt us. They may not always agree. In fact, they won't. But the dueling parapsychologists provide an investigative podcast that's not afraid to seek the truth and separate nonsense. With your hosts, Elliott Van Dusen and Darryll Walsh. Welcome to the Dueling Parapsychologist Podcast.
All right, welcome to another episode of the Dueling Parapsychologist Podcast. I'm Dr. Elliott Van Dusen with co-host Dr. Darryll Walsh, and we have a special guest tonight. Keith Linder is joining us from Washington State. Keith has written one or two books on what's called the Bothell Hell House. It's very popular if you Google it. There's lots of websites on it. A few different paranormal investigative teams have investigated it, but we are actually going to sit here tonight and talk to Keith and hear it firsthand from Keith what he has experienced. So Keith, why don't you start from the beginning and tell us how you ended up purchasing this property and tell us what happened from there.
Yeah, I'll give you a little bit, a quick rundown. It was May 1st, 2012. My girlfriend at the time, Tina, we had been together already 2 years, and we decided to move in together. And we found this house, that we see in my background, on Craigslist, and went to go tour it, saw it, fell in love with it. That probably was April or March of the same year. It was still being lived in. And then the homeowner contacted us, and we said we wanted it and we qualified for it, but moved in May 1st of 2012, beginning having activity right away. Was not aware, but it was low level activity. These things tend to begin low, very subtle, hardly noticeable. We heard a kid cough the day we went to sign the papers. We were renting the home. We went to sign the leasing papers, and homeowner left, gave us the keys. We're excited. House is empty. Neither one of us have pets nor kids. And in the middle of us talking, and we were sitting on the floor, just talking, being carefree, and we heard a kid cough. And it was very distinct, very loud. We both heard it. We asked each other the question at the same time, was that a kid cough? It sounded like it came from one of the rooms upstairs. All the windows in the home are closed, but we talked about it for 5 minutes. Thought it was weird and odd, but the house is empty, so maybe it was a noise outside or whatever. Fast forward to about a week or two now, I moved in. Tina didn't move until a month after me, but she's there all the time. But I moved in, and I noticed, well, the first thing I noticed was my spare car keys were missing, my car fob. And how I noticed that is I went to go retrieve another item. I kept it in a glove box, and I never used these keys, so they had no reason to go missing. I moved it over to the house, not the movers, but it was gone. And I was like, well, that's okay. For something that I never used to be gone, but oh well, maybe it'll show up later, or maybe I dropped it in the moving process. But Tina started noticing her jewelry missing. She started asking me, hey, have you seen, her jewelry, bracelet, earring? It was a mismatch, so she's missing one of the other. And we both noticed around that same time frame, now we're a month in, of our silverware, sporks, spoon, and knives are depleting. We found ourselves constantly looking for silverware. You're like, hey, why am I always in search of a spoon? I know we had plenty of each when we moved in, So that was just weird. That was just weird. Nothing you could put your hand on. It just felt weird. And then finally, the moment of truth, as I call it in the Bothell house, where you cannot disavow anymore. I don't care what part of the earth you live in. A plant. We were watching TV one night, me and Tina. It was a weeknight, I remember that. And Tina has this 4-foot tall plant that's set by the entertainment center. And you look at the TV, you can see the plant. And I kid you not, the plant levitates off the floor, darts up off the floor, and does a 360-degree spin, and then keels over in our direction. And Tina's on my side, we're on the couch. We saw it at the same time. I always tell people, I'm so glad we saw it at the same time. I mean, seeing is believing. I'm not sure I would believe Tina 100% if she told me. Maybe she missaw something and vice versa. But the way it darted up and spun, did a spin, and fell in our direction. We at the time, we went toward the plant. We're like, hey, whoa, wow, what's going on? Because we thought we were being pranked. So we're still not claiming ghosts yet. We were like, wait a minute, this is a neat trick. Somebody is this, so we just moved into this house. Maybe some sort of reality TV show we didn't know we were signing up for. Somebody put some remote device in the plant. I'm an IT professor. That would be really neat. I don't know how you did that, but that would be neat to do. So we're looking for wires and remote control devices, and then finding it. And that's when we said, I think we have a ghost living with us.
Really interesting. Now, when the plant was rotating 360 degrees, was it the pot plant going up and down, or was it like in the air, just kind of spinning?
Vertical. It was a vertical spin.
A vertical spin.
It wasn't doing cartwheel or anything. It was just straight up and spinning. It made it did a 1 or 2 turn, and then it didn't level down and fall down. It just fell over. It just like good, but it was clearly off the ground.
How far off the ground was it?
I would give it 2 to 3 inches off the ground. Yeah, maybe 3. Yeah, definitely about 3 inches off the ground. And we couldn't have been more than 4 feet from it when we saw it. That's how close the couch is to the television. And I remember after rummaging through and looking for some sort of electronic or whatever, thinking the balloons are going to fall and somebody's going to come out of a closet with a camera and say, ha, 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 you guys are on Big Brother, pilot, whatever, but that didn't happen. But we went to my office because we didn't know nothing about the paranormal. We were like, okay, well, we started Googling, how can you tell if your house is haunted? I mean, what? Let's go to the internet. There's got to be some telltale signs. How can you tell? And the first 4 to 5 things how you can tell your house is haunted, we've already experienced. We heard the kid cough. It said noises, strange noises. Some website even said a kid cough. Other websites saying missing items. Okay, so we had that. Also, we were finding kid toys. And once again, we have no kids. We were finding items that did not belong to us out in the open in the house. You go to bed, you wake up, you come downstairs, it's a 2-story home, and there'd be these kid toys on the staircase, kitchen counter, coffee table, lampstand, like little trinket, like Hot Wheel toys. Remember those little Hot Wheel cars and Tonka trucks and all that?
So not in spots where like the previous people that lived there may have left it.
Yeah, definitely not behind an appliance. Definitely not behind a washer, a dryer, refrigerator. Just out in the open, in your direct path, like it was purposely placed. Okay, and once again, we picked on. And before the plant levitated, we were thinking, somebody's coming in the house, leaving stuff while we go to bed. So I got an alarm system installed and had that running 24/7. So when we went to bed, the house is armed, and then you wake up and turn the alarm off because you got to maneuver around. and these toys are there. Okay. So we're dealing with these two missing items, but the website answered our question for us, and it says, yeah, this is signs your house is haunted, da 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 da. And it still wasn't clicking in our psyche because, the paradigm nowadays is haunted house has got to be old and decrepit and cobwebby, how Hollywood sells it. But
yeah, the stereotypical haunted house.
yeah. This is a brand new home. It was built 2005. The neighborhood built 2005. I think only 4 to 5 families have lived in it ever. And here we are, and the alarm is on. But then we're like, okay, we have a kid ghost. That's how we say, okay, oh, we got kid ghosts. All right, well, what do you do? And websites were like, you got to be nice. Sometimes spirits are lost and confused, don't know how to move on. I Googled the house on the internet to see if anybody died in the house. Couldn't find nothing. I doubt if somebody did, even though Washington's it's not a required by law state. But I couldn't find anything dark about the home yet. So I was like, okay, we got a kid ghost. All right. I mean, but from that point on, after the plant levitation, I can tell you this: the glove sort of came off, because now that it has made believers out of me and Tina, there's no more disavowing and ruling things out. I'm pretty sure the spirits got tired of that. But now there's activity every night. Now it's doing physical activity. Yes, things are still missing. Yeah, we're still finding kid toys. But now it can start doing the loud banging. Boom, boom, boom. Almost every night. You can almost set your clock to it. You'd be watching dinner, or having dinner, watching TV. I'd be in my office upstairs. Tina would be watching TV either downstairs or bedroom upstairs. And usually between 7 p.m. and 10 p.m., boom, 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 loud, just loud. We meet in the hall with me and Tina, and we're like, what is that? The first time you hear, you're like, what was that? And it sounded like it was coming from everywhere, every part of the house. And it shook the house. You could feel the walls kind of. And days we'd be having dinner, and I kid you not, Tina had these plants. These are potteries, in corners of the house, flying. They pass your peripheral and crash upon impact on the walls. Just obliterate on the wall upon contact. And the websites was so we were like, okay, that's all right. That's not going to fly. That's not going to fly. No pun intended. But then the websites were saying, tell it to stop or ask them to stop. We did. So we went to, stood in the middle of the house after a plant was thrown, cleaning it up. Hey, I appreciate if you stop throwing Tina's plants or stop with the loud banging, be friendly, go into the light, be at peace. And, that might have worked for 24 or 48 hours, but then another boom, boom, boom. And an interesting thing happened that you guys might appreciate is we would have friends over, and our friends would see the flying plants. It'd be Monday Night Football. I'm a Monday Night Football guy, so I got the guys, and I tell, hey, our house is kind of weird, and they're like, oh, whatever, dude, whatever. It's your turn. Post football, we're coming to your house. I'm like, okay, our house is a little weird. And toward the evening, as it got late, we'd just be talking to guys in football, and the plant dart across the room, and they see it, and I'm like, hey, that's becoming a daily thing. And some never came back. Some blew their mind, like, wow, that's cool. Like, wow, that's cool, dude, you got a ghost. And I would tell her, hey, this thing does loud banging. Sometime while we're sleeping, there's stomping, there's movement that we hear. The most dangerous thing yet right now is the plants. They're not being thrown at us, but they're thrown in our vicinity to where we notice it, and you definitely hear it. You definitely clean it up, broken up plant. But I did not know, Tina didn't know, okay, where is this going? So the website, going back to the website again, these things usually die out. They usually get tired and bored. Da, 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 da. So we brought churches in to have the home blessed, called around neighborhood churches, multi-denominations, and they had it blessed, and we told them, and then it would die down, then it would come back. But I guess when I started thinking, this is not a kid ghost anymore, because I'm like, okay, this is, why would a kid ghost do this and that? Was when it started slamming the door, say you're brushing your teeth or taking a shower, and your bathroom door slams shut and the lights go off. I'd be downstairs, Tina be taking a bubble bath. I hear this door slam. Ah! I dart upstairs. Like, what happened? What happened? Oh my God, the door slammed. And the lights went off, and vice versa. And then we start waking up in the morning, once again in the morning, and you find every kitchen cabinet door open, all of them, just spread open, up and down, closets open. The contents were never emptied out. Like I heard some stories, thank God, or never thrown out, thank God, but always, open. You come down there and, whoa, what's this all about? And then I saw, well, I didn't know at the time, but what was an apparition. I was in my office. We're probably 3 months in. This is around August. And I'm in my office, I'm an actor, so I have my own man cave, I'm typing away. And Tina's taking a bath. And at that time, we had been experiencing the lights going off and on in the room or the hallway while you're in it. Or you would leave, go get a glass of water, come back, the lights are off. Why is my lights off? Or the TV's off. So this night I'm in my office typing and my back is facing the TV. The TV's behind me, I'm in my computer. And I hear this click. As soon as I heard the click, like click, like a light switch click, I turn toward the direction where my switch is, which is in the doorway. And there's this woman standing there. I thought, before I turned, because the lights went off, now my room is dark, I pushed away from the table and I was like, I thought it was Tina playing a practical joke. And I was like, ha ha, Tina, that's not funny, because me and Tina, one of our rules was, now we got a ghost, we're not going to do ghost jokes, okay? We're not going to do that. I won't do ghost jokes for you, you want to go agree. So I thought she had reneged and was doing a ghost joke. So I pushed away from the table and I'm like, hey, Tina, and I looked and it's not Tina. There's a woman standing in my doorway and full body. She's not see-through or translucent. She's not illuminating, it's not a bright light I'm looking at, but she's all gray. All gray.
All what?
All gray.
Gray.
All
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, she's all gray. And I pegged her about 5'4" to 5'6" height, thin frame, petite, very frail. Looks like she's, I don't know, dress or blouse or something, but I always thought she had like angel hair that just frizzied up, that met at her shoulders, went a little bit below, but it was frizzy, angel thin hair. And so I turned and I see this woman standing in my doorway, and my mind is like, I'm thinking like two things at the same time, like, whoa, that's not Tina. That's a woman. What? Wait. How did you get in the house? That's, my brain is battling itself, like trying to deduce, wait, how did you make it all the way through our front door, all the way upstairs, past Tina's bedroom? What are you doing? But then as I'm looking, my other brain's like, DEFCON 4, dude, DEFCON 4, you need to clock in. And the lady, she's standing sideways now, and she's trying to, the next to my office is the bedroom on this side, and there's a washroom on this side. She's trying to go to the left. She's trying to go to my left through the door that leads to the washroom. And she's trying to go through the door. You know, you and I would open the door. She's trying to go through it. And I looked at and the facial expression on her face was one of, I always tell people, she looked like she was startled, nervous, but very, I don't know, what is the word I gave her? Very conniving. And the way I was looking at it, it looked like she's trying to dart through this door, de-manifest. How about that? She's trying to go through the door, and she's not doing it well. She's having a hard time at it. I don't know if it was training day for ghosts or whatever, but yeah, she and it's repelling her as I'm looking. So then she turns her back to me and darts down the hall. She hurry walks. She just turns her back to me. And I'm like, and I get up instinctively. It was more instinct than logic. And give chase. And force snatch, as soon as I turn the corner, she's going, poof, gone. I'm standing in a hallway. And my eyes are big, like, what was that? So I turn right, because now I'm in my doorway of our master bedroom. I turn right and go right in and go straight to Tina, because I have to tell this story. Hey, Tina. And I walk into the bathroom and Tina's taking a bubble bath, and I walk in and she sees the look on my face. She's like, and I'm like, she's like, what? And I'm like, I saw it. She said, you saw what? No, I said, I saw it. I saw there was a woman in my doorway. And she was shocked. Like, what? It just happened. There was a woman. She turned the lights off. I turned to the doorway. She couldn't get away. She darted and disappeared. And that point on, for me at least, I mentally, I had a physical thing that I could go to for as all the activity that we had. I attributed it to her, even though I had no evidence that all the stuff was being caused by her. I said, oh, is that what's doing the banging? Or the flying plants and the kitchen cabinet doors? And then I would ask myself, well, why did she turn my lights off and take on running? And, you know, and why did I see it? Because Tina never, in the history of the home, Tina never saw apparitions. I did. This would be first out of 3 or first out of 4 times that I saw one. And we talked about it, and it was a great lady, full-bodied, and yeah, she was outside my hallway.
Wow.
How lighted, that's good English, write some good English. How much light was there in the hallway?
Well, the hallway light was on, and we kept the hallway light on because at that time, there's a bookshelf. I don't know if you looked at the layout of the house, but there's a bookshelf, the infamous bookshelf, where we were keeping Bibles open. Our friends and preachers and churches said, leave a Bible open to da-da-da-da-da chapter. And a few times, those Bibles would get slung off the bookshelf, thrown, crazy noise. Or candles, same thing. Candles, the same thing. And then, so we always kept the hallway light on, especially with the lights being turned off sometime in the room we were in. Tina would just freak out, oh my God, but the hallway light on. But the hallway also had episodes of its own of the lights going off and on. And there are interesting videos on my YouTube channel of that I captured with tripod cameras. But that night, the hallway light was on. So it was and yeah, that's a good question, because I don't know if you can see it on my end, but there's the dome light for that section of the hallway is right outside my door. So she was well lit. Yeah, the hallway was very illuminated. This had to have been about 8 p.m. that night. The sun was definitely set. So yeah, she was there.
What's the next big thing that happened after seeing the apparition? What did you guys do from there? And did you ever ask the person that you leased the house from, hey, what's going on? What kind of activity has anyone else reported here? Or have you experienced any weird activity here?
Not yet, but that time is coming. So how the story works is we're still in summer 2012. I would say that seeing the apparition was probably one of the top. We would make the top 5 list of of activity. I'll put it up there. The other would be the flying objects. Okay, the flying objects definitely, because they're leaving destruction afterwards. The other nuancy stuff I won't put in that category, but it's important to note would be the equipment and electrical malfunction. Problems with our telecommunications. Since we had a landline, never worked. Phone company came out there, didn't know what was going on. Couldn't find nothing wrong. TV would change and turn on itself. Channels would go by themselves. Lights off and on, and appliances and whatnot. Microwave will come on and go off by itself. So those little nuancy things. But probably I would say for that year, for all of 2012, would be when we had our housewarming party, when we welcome everybody to our home to, housewarming party. But everybody knows Keith and Tina's house is haunted. We told them, say, hey, we may cancel this thing. Y'all should be, it's like this. If we get that much, because me and Tina wake up on a Saturday, and we know how the day was going to be based on the activity. They will let you know what type of day you're going to have early. And if we get activity 9 a.m., 10 a.m., we know we're in for a long day. And we told our friends, if we get activity, we're pulling the plug. There's no house party. So the house was quiet. Me and Tina had a protocol like, hey, let's just do this. Let's get them in, let's get them out, let's get them fed, let's get this thing, but let's watch it. Let's watch. And everybody, the women, about 5 or 6 of them are our friends, all couples. So the women were complaining of having their hair pulled, and they would say, hey, Tina, something just pulled my hair. Or, hey, Tina, something just bumped me. Something bumped me. All the women had that. Every last one of them in the kitchen. My guys saw me because I'm a chef, I'm cooking, and I'm going in and outside the backyard to barbecue. I kept getting locked out of my own house. So I would go close the sliding door, and upon return, the door would be locked. And it became so noticeable, people started laughing, like, Keith, why are you getting locked out of your own house? But nobody was doing the math of saying, it's a sliding door, you can't lock yourself out. So that was happening a lot. And then about midnight or 1 a.m. when the crowd really had thinned out, it's just me and Tina, Tina's best friend, Kim, and Kim's mother-in-law from out of town. And me and Tina are cleaning up the kitchen, washing dishes. Kim is sitting on the bar stool in the middle of the kitchen. Kim's sitting on the couch. Her mom is sitting on the bar stool in the middle of the kitchen. And I think Kim told me, hey, I'm cold. I'm a little bit cold. So I went to go close the window in the living room. And as I walk by Kim to close the window, I see something projectile zoom past my peripheral. And I hear this crash, boom, 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 boom. And I turn around and the plant had just been thrown. Kim saw it. Kim had front row seats because she was, the way she was sitting and looking, she saw from beginning to end. And she leaped up out of the couch and like, what was that? And then Tina come running over from the kitchen, saw the broken up pottery, and looked at her friend Kim and said, we told you our house was haunted. And the look on Kim's face was like, I didn't know it was haunted like that, but we had told everybody. Once again, going back to the of seeing is believing. And then soon after that was the loud bang, boom, 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 boom. And they heard it. Kim's mom and Kim heard it. And they start getting a reality picture of what we were dealing with. And Kim pulled out her iPhone and aimed it toward the ceiling, towards what I don't know. And she Googled it on the internet how to get rid of a ghost, and said, you got to talk to her. So she started talking, and I advised her not to do that because we had not had good luck with that. And sure enough, she tried to talk while you're here, while you're throwing stuff. That's not right. And the bang, bang, boom, 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 boom. As she was talking. Okay. So Kim's mom grew up in Louisiana, New Orleans, elderly lady. I would call her highly spiritual, not religious, but highly spiritual. And she said that she came in and said, hey, yeah, you guys got a spirit here. But you got to be firm and let it know it's your home. What we're going to do is we're going to go into the opposite room and we're going to get in a circle and we're going to pray. I'm going to say a prayer. Kim's mom said, I'm going to say a prayer. Kim, you're going to say a prayer. Keith and Tina, y'all going to say a prayer. And we're going to say a prayer together. And we're going to, each person who says the prayer has got to include in their prayer, you know, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Ghost, I'm paraphrasing. Hey, it's okay. It's all right. We're not here to harm this establishment. Be at peace, be at rest, knowing that we're going to take care of this place. It is in good hands, and you can go and be at rest and be at peace. And we're going to all say that and then incorporate our own belief system. So we all did that, heads bowed. I said my prayer, Tina says hers, Kim and her mom said their prayer. We're all about in an opposite room, I kid you not. And when we're all done, we all hug, right? We're hugging each other. And like, okay, we feel good. Let that energy go. Let it, you know, this is a new leaf. We're turning over a new leaf. We go back into the opposite room, the living room, into the kitchen, which is only 3 feet away. And everybody's eyes pop open the minute they step into the kitchen area because every kitchen cabinet door is wide open. Everyone, the up and the downs, you know, closet doors. And when I say drawers, all the drawers are pulled out in all the kitchen cabinets. There's pictures. I got pictures and all that in the book and on YouTube and all that. So, and the first person I looked at, because I wanted to see her reaction, was Kim's mom. And the look on her face was a look of, I've never seen this before. This is beyond my skill T. I can tell you how many times I've seen be a shaman, a priest, a reverend, a paranormal investigator, a parapsychologist come in, regardless of their history of learning, regardless if they've done the previous cases and read or whatnot. There's always one event that they see with their own eyes where they realize, okay, I didn't go to the University of Paranormal and took that class. I don't know what to do anymore. You know, some paranormal teams, it was the sage stick catching fire on its own. I mean, they hold it in their hand. Before they light it, it lights itself. Others have seen objects teleport or materialize right in front of them. Others have seen doors open before they walk in or close. I mean, I don't know if you watched Steve Maher's video or read his book of the things he saw with his naked eyes, but suffice to say, that's probably, things started tapering off toward the end of 2012. You know, and to answer your question, I had not reached out to the homeowner yet. The only thing I was calling the homeowner for was because there's a drawer in the kitchen that we have our stuff in, that every now and then when you go to retrieve an item, you know, a hammer, it was a utility drawer, hammer, measuring rod, whatever, measuring tape. When you open the door, the drawer, out would shoot envelopes, unopened envelopes. And they would be post dated 2008, 2009, 2011, 2006. And these letters definitely were not there when we moved in, you know, and definitely were not there a day or a minute ago because we keep stuff in this drawer. And I would read the names on the letter, and I called the homeowner one day because I wanted to talk to the previous tenants.
Yep.
And I said, hey, we're getting mail to the home, it doesn't belong to us, maybe it belongs to the previous tenants. If you kindly, I asked, if you kindly give me their whereabouts or contact info so I can send this to them. And because I wanted to ask him, not him, he didn't live in the house. I want to ask the people who lived in the house about the house. And he said, no, it's unethical for me, may be against the law to reach out to tenants themselves. But he said, send all the letters to him and he would forward it on. He knows where everybody's current address is. And so I thought that was a brick wall. And then I'm like, okay, all right, I'm going to send you all the letters that we got. It was a lot. And it was only in this drawer that they were appearing in. My think, even to this day, me and Tina probably got letters missing that we don't even know missing. These are not bills or letters from your relatives. It's just nonchalant letters, but they're addressed to you. You wouldn't miss them necessarily unless somebody told you, hey, I wrote you a letter, did you get it? These were not letters like that, but they were letters, they were junk mail. I felt like they were junk mail. But there was a lot of them, and I'm pretty sure the same thing was happening to us. But then the activity went silent for November, December. It tapered off, and we had no activity for the year 2013. None.
No activity at all.
None. Nothing that I can really say. That's a ghost story. That's an activity. So it was quiet, and then we were relieved. And I know we were more in denial psychologically than relieved, because in my research now, yes, of course there was activity, but it was so low level. We were so relieved and in denial in 2013 that we just, number one, Tina didn't want to talk about it anymore. So I couldn't have a conversation about the activity because she said, no, if it stops, then we need to leave it alone. The website said it themselves, these things die off and taper off for no rhyme or reason. And we're like, okay, all right, it's tapering off. All right, okay. Me, my little analytical brain, I'm still trying to ascertain what was that all about. Trying to still do a little minor investigation, if you know what I mean, mentally, trying to dissect it all. But I had no person to relate it to because Tina wouldn't want to talk about it. So I talked about my friends, and they're like, hey, leave one enough alone, da, da, da. But it had all died down. Like, I'll give you an example that I always thought was kind of weird, but Tina wouldn't talk about it. One night we were sleeping. This is 2013. And we were awakened abruptly, loudly, to the fire alarms going off in the house. And that scares the heck out of you, right? It's 3 a.m., 4 a.m. in the morning. We running, looking for the fire, frantically, hearts pacing, whatever, about to break our necks, thundering down the stairs in the total dark. But there's no smoke, there's no fire. And you look around and you look at the alarm and you touch it and you're like, what's your problem? What are you doing? And then this goes off. And then we go back to bed. And that never happened again. So I would get up the next day or the 2 days later, we eat dinner with Tina. Hey, what's up with that fire alarm thing? What do you think about that? What do you? Oh, no. I was like, really? Yeah, that's kind of weird, right? I mean, it just went off on its own, And then Microsoft came to the house. This was summer of 2013. And I was a beta tester for the Xbox 360. This is the first generation Xbox coming out with the Kinect. And I qualified as a beta tester. And as a beta tester, they bring a console, a prototype to your home for 3 to 4 months. And they watch you play games. They can watch you remotely, or sometimes they want to be in the house when you're in because they want to watch you and they want to ask you questions while you're playing. And so every night for 3 months, I had a set time where I would have to play the Xbox. I would get an email and they would let me log in, and I'm testing out different games in their Connect system. And I was having the time of my life. I mean, I was geeky like that.
I know somebody else close to Darryll that would love that job as well.
Yeah, it was like heaven. But this night, Microsoft wanted to come to the house. They said, we're coming, we want to watch. We're near the end of our beta testing project. And it's about 5 or 7 Microsoft employees coming in, and they got gadgets and they got camcorders. It's like a little mini studio. We're just here to observe you, Keith. We're going to watch you, put you through some routines, and we're going to watch you play our game. You sit on the couch like you normally would play a game, and we may ask you to move, and when you move, come through the front door, because we want to connect to be able to pick you up when you walk through your front door and know it's you and turn on. I mean, that was cool. I was like, oh, really? They can do that? Yeah, you're gonna love this. You walk through the door, the Connect's gonna know your home and your TV and all that stuff's gonna come on. So I was in heaven. So I'm playing the game now on the couch, and they're watching me. And not only are they watching me because they're in my home, there are people back at headquarters watching too, remotely. And I remember, because the head lady had a thing on her ear where she can communicate to them. And as I'm playing, people back home at the headquarters said, hey, can he stop? We got something. Hold on, stop, cut it. We got something going on here. And the lady's like, what do you mean? What's going on? Oh, okay, Keith, can you stop playing? And they got something. And then they all huddle like, what's going on? And the people at headquarters were like, our system to connect, or that's about, we're picking up, God, I kid you like that. This is, I mean, this should be put into in a movie because it would look so granular. The guy's like, we're picking up movement in the house, I mean, in the living room, that we cannot, it's not key. We see our AI or whatever, we see key dots and all that on the couch, but we got movement in the background. Not the engineers, there's movement behind it. We're picking up movement, and there, for lack of a better word, their connect or a system is freaking the hell out. It's a computer, it's an AI. It's not deducing what these things are. It's having a hard time negotiating or determining, are these things moving part of the game that Keith is playing, because I'm playing the game, or are they part of Keith? And it can't compute because, well, Keith is on the couch. What's all this movement behind him? So finally, they was like, okay, can you fix that? We're trying. We see it. So finally, one of the engineers that was in the house said, well, we're gonna. I forgot what mode they put the TV on, but they put it on some sort of mode where it took me out of the game, but put it in a mode where you can see everything on my screen, my 64-inch screen. We're all black and white, but behind us, using the Connect, I think it was an infrared mode or something of that nature, behind us in the kitchen, near the ceiling, were these floating black orbs that were moving, not like, remember lava lamps, how the lava, they were moving like that. And they were moving and, it separated and reunited. And I, at the time, was not putting 2 and 2 together, but I can tell you, they thought it was weird. And I could only repeat what they were saying because I was in the room listening to them. They did not know what that was. And it bothered the heck out of them. They were really, from a professional engineer standpoint, to not be able to know the origin of that, because they got a game to publish. They got a game, and that's not going to work if the world is seeing blobs or whatever. And they were like, we don't know what that is. I'm looking at it, and I just thought it was weird and interesting. Okay, and this is 2013. So finally, they shrugged. They're like, well, we're going to document the hell out. We don't know what it is. Okay, thank you, Keith, whatever. We're going to get out of here. And it just stumped it. it just stuck there. I'm in IT, so I've been on many projects where we're about to go launch on something and something stumps the engineer or the dev, and I go like, hey, go, no go? Well, what are we doing? Are we going with it? And we all get stuck. And that stumped them. Fast forward 2 years later in the home, I start putting two and two together and I'll stand by this. I think what they were looking at, what the system picked up was, for lack of a better word, was the poltergeist, and I put an S at the end of it, in their dormant state. They were, that to me, because I'm going back to Tina with this 2 years later, I think that's proof that they never left the house. See, people always are telling us the activity stopped because they left the house. And and me and Tina were arguing about this, and she would never want to talk. I was like, why do people say they left the house? They didn't tell us they left the house. Isn't that kind of presumption of us to say, oh, they left only because the activity stopped means they leave? Maybe they went dormant. And people were like, yeah, it's splitting hairs. Yeah, they went dormant. But nobody said they went dormant. It's all on, I mean, they left their house. So I'm like, well, we didn't. How do you know that?
Yeah.
And then when you see these things, I was like, yeah, that's them. That's them in whatever form you want to call them. But there's
so these shapes, were they seen by Microsoft software and not like you couldn't visually see it with your own eyes? These orbs.
You couldn't see with the naked eye. You couldn't see with the naked eye. You could see it with the software, and they're black. It's black floating orbs.
And now, how the Xbox Connect works is it uses infrared technology that kind of creates like a depth map of your surrounding environment, right? And then it detects movement of objects or individuals.
Yeah. When I wrote my first and second book, I pulled down all the Microsoft Wiki and Xbox page of the whole schematic of how the technology works, and because the Connect was groundbreaking at that time frame, and it was something new, and they were trying to get the AI to the game to turn on, but based on your movement around the house. No longer you're pushing the button. You walk into the room, if you have it configured that way, the game will come on based on, it'll do a little nanosecond reading of you, or it memorizes your mannerisms. And that's what basically they were doing. And then the computer running all this processing a million times a second or whatever, then gives you an image, or the game. It puts you in a game environment or something like that, something like the holodeck on Star Trek. And you're doing that. But they were stuck because as a developer or a coder or an engineer, you have to be able to ascertain everything about something. And nobody likes loose ends. And this was a loose end to them. This was the big deal. I mean, they were talking like, well, this is a big, nobody knew what this was. And they were upset. I could tell the program manager, were a little bit upset. So it was just interesting. It was just interesting just to see that conversation, and I'm in the middle of it, and they're talking with me in the room, and it derailed me from playing the game. So yeah, I wish, I signed a non-disclosure agreement, but I wish today, because they tape everything, and I wish I could have got a copy of that. I wish I could have got a copy of that.
That's interesting. So that happened in 2013 when things were kind of slowing down at the house.
Yeah, that was summer 2013. Yeah, July, August.
Okay, so far everything you've said up to now so far is pretty much what any American or Canadian family would do. You know what I mean? You're experiencing something strange. You try and investigate it or deduce that it's just something natural happening. You misplaced your keys, or it's the house settling or whatever. And then when things keep happening, then you start looking into, is my house haunted? So what do? You go to the internet, start doing some research. So yeah, so far everything you're saying is pretty much, I think what the average family would do so far. What happened after the Microsoft incident?
We got through 2013 successfully. Now we're living comfortably in the home. The house we wanted, we're starting to let our guard is down. We are finally breathing. I can have as many parties as I want. Tina could take baths or showers and not worry about the door slamming. None of the items that went missing have ever come back. Okay, we write that off as a loss, but nothing are appearing out of thin air. No more loud bangs. No more kitchen cabinet doors open. So we're like, yeah, okay, all right, it's done. It's done. Now, every website told us this, and it's true. It says, hey, these things leave, they wear out, they go out now, da 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 da. But, and there's a little caveat, but the ones that do come back, there's that word again, the ones that do come back, it's always worse the second time. And I remember reading that on a lot of websites saying, hey, they're gone, you're good. But if they ever come back, it's worse. And that stayed in the back of my mind of what worse is. Because I'm at this point, yeah, it was haunting, but it wasn't, we're not Amityville yet. We're nowhere near the Amityville yet. So I was like, okay, that's an interesting, I got a ghost story to tell. I will always win the ghost story contest with my friends because I have a story to tell. So if that's the worst it's going to get, okay, all right, whatever. 2014, January 2nd, to be exact. I was in my office and I was coming downstairs for a refill and I fell. It's a 2-level stairway, it's a mid-level landing, and I was coming down the second landing, mid-level, about 12 steps, and I hit that first step at the top and bit the desk. Boom! Bad fall, bad fall. It was over before it began. Tina was cooking in the kitchen, and she heard the commotion, and I'm laying on my back. I know it's a bad fall, and I'm crying out to Tina to come help me. Tina thought I was joking, so she didn't rush over there. So I'm like, no, Tina, I fell, and I'm doing a mental, physical check of limbs. Okay, everything seems to be all right. So Tina comes to me and sees that oh my God, you fell. Oh my gosh, you fell. And she helps me up. And I got a big bowling ball sized knee. My right knee is the size of a bowling ball. And we looked at my knee and knew that was bad. Tina helps me upstairs. I'm a big 6'5" guy, bless her heart. I'm limping upstairs. I knew it was a bad fall. My knee is more numb than in pain. Mm-hmm. So I sit down in my office chair. Tina goes to get an ice pack. And she comes back. My knee has gotten larger, so I'm swelling. It's swelling up. I put the ice pack on. That's not working. I hopped to the bedroom and laid down, and I said, I think I got to go to the ER, to the emergency room. And we were about to plan to go to the ER when immense pain shot to my thigh. Now my thigh is on fire, and I'm in agony. So long story short, Tina calls 911. The fire department arrived, EMTs arrived. They make a determination that I've torn my right patella tendon. My kneecap has snapped off and reverted into my thigh muscle. That's what that pain. Yeah, that's what that spasm. She said, it's not a right away pain that you feel, but when you feel it, your knee is reverting into your thigh muscle. Because one of the chief fire officers said that happened to him 2 years ago when he was skiing. He said, yeah, as soon as he saw my knee, because I couldn't wiggle my toes, he said, you got a torn patella tendon. We got to get you out of here. So I get to the hospital, they confirm it, orthopedics confirm it, x-rays confirm it. So now I am a few weeks later after the surgery to reattach it, because that's the only way you can fix it, is to have surgery to reattach it. And there's a recuperating time. There's a time of physical therapy about 6 weeks to 2 months long. So I'm now bedridden now, because now I can't go outside the house. My knee has to stay straight for a month. So I am in a cast and I can't go outside. Tina goes to work, and while she's gone, I'm confined to the upstairs. I will not maneuver around the house by myself. It's too dangerous to be coming up and downstairs with one leg, breaking neck. So I'm now in my room all day, and I'm on pain meds, which make me sleepy. And the times I'm it's the daytime, Tina goes to work. I'm in my room watching TV, channel surfing. And as I'm watching TV, I'm hearing commotion in the kitchen. And by commotion, I'm hearing like somebody's rummaging through the kitchen cabinets. So I thought, oh, Tina's home. Tina came back. She must have forgot something. Because that's how loud it was. So I would put the TV on mute, grab my crutch and hop to the doorway of the bedroom and look over the landing, the beam, and like, Tina, is that you? You home? Nothing, silent, nothing. Go back to my bed, start watching TV again, and hear that same commotion. Da, 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 da. So I call her, text Tina, hey, and she's like, no, I'm at work. So I thought, so I ruled out. I thought that was weird. Then in between napping, as I'm sleeping, while Tina's gone, I'm hearing taps on the headboard. Tapping on my headboard. And I'm like, and then I'm hearing scratching, like gnawing on my headboard. So Tina come home during the day, and like I said, I want to confide in her. I said, hey, I'm hearing these noises in the house, and is this how the house, normally we're going, like, is this how the house sounds when we're not here? It's like, if a tree falls down the forest, does it make a sound, right? So I'm like, is it? But Tina didn't want to talk. She said, hey, this, whatever, like,
So
okay.
by this point, she's shutting everything down. She really doesn't want to acknowledge.
She don't want to revisit it, and neither do I. But it's really not giving me a choice, because I'm like, no, the kitchen rummaging and the headboard. I'm hearing all that stuff, but so I'm like, okay, whatever, fine, whatever. So finally, weeks passed, and I'm now mobile again. I'm fully recovered. I'm now mobile again, and now this is early March, okay, and it was a Sunday night, and I remember, because I think I told Tina, I said, no, we were laying down. We were laying down in the middle of the night, and my eyes popped open, and I felt like I was being watched, dead middle of the night. And I look over to Tina, she sleeps, so I'm not gonna bother her. And I get this uneasy feeling about the room where it feels like our room has become very dark, like an energy. I can't put my finger on it. So it would bother me to the point where I got out of bed, walked all the way down to the kitchen. And I knew Tina, because we both like to cook, she had the I guess you could say the raw sage leaves for cooking, for flavoring and all that. And I got them out the refrigerator, out the veggie tray, and I was like, I'm going to put these on a cookie sheet, this little sage thing, that we eat. This is not this. And I put it on the cookie tray, and I put it on broil, and I got the to dry to a crisp and smoke or whatever. So now it's like that. So I was like, aha, I did it, thank you. And I put that on a saucer. And I was going around the house doing this, saying prayers, because I put the head, I was like, that much I remember from 2012 and website and internet. So I'm doing this, Tina's asleep. She don't need to know. What she won't know won't hurt her. And I'm going I'm going around every room. This is 3 or 4 in the morning. And then I get to the bookshelf, the hallway bookshelf, and I sit the tray down and let it smolder on its own. I go back to bed. I'm in bed now. Then, hours later, we hear a crash, major crash. And Tina darts up awake, I'm awake, and I go to the hallway. The saucer where the sage was on, resting on the bookshelf, is now on the opposite side of the hallway. And it's obliterated, it's broken up into pieces. And me and Tina walk towards it. And because I've been telling Tina what I did, she's playing catch up now. I'm like, well, this is what I did. And went to bed, left it burning. And she saw it on the floor, obliterated. She saw the sage. And she just bust out crying. She just started crying profusely. And from that day on, the morning, the day after, they were back. The next day, about 5 or 6 p.m., boom, 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 boom. Plants flying, da 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 da. And getting on the horn again, calling churches, calling preachers and reverends. They're back. They're back. Oh, so and so is out of town now. Oh, so and so can't be reached now. Okay, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? Telling our friends they're back. They're back. And in the back of my mind, I'm going back to the websites where they say, when they come back, they're worse. And the websites wasn't lying, because at that point on, 2012, we didn't really have activity every day. 2014, for a period of March, I would say through March, late March through August, September, we had activity every day. We would get up, hurry out the door, get dressed, just get out of here, just get out. Come back, you come back now, you're coming back, all the kitchen cabinet doors are open. You return home, all the kitchen cabinet doors are open. And then one of the most hellish weekends, I call it the Katy Perry weekend. Katy Perry, the singer, the Katy Perry weekend. I think there's a chapter dedicated to that weekend in my book, where from Thursday through Sunday was probably one of the most hellish, unrelenting activities that just crescendoed by Saturday. When Saturday arrived, we were still in sort of denial, or we did not know how bad it can get. I mean, our benchmark was everything we experienced in 2012. So we're like, okay, it's more frequent, bangs are a little bit louder, okay, but it was getting worse every day. And I think it was a Friday or a Saturday, I went to go have happy hour with my friends. And Tina was at the home by herself. And I met my friends, and I come home 2 hours later, and the house is empty. Tina's gone. Her car is gone. But the house looked like a tornado had blown through it. Kitchen cabinet doors are open. The water in the kitchen sink was running, still running. This is downstairs, total destruction. I go upstairs. Tina's not there. She won't answer her phone. I'm calling her frantically. I get upstairs. There are two light domes in our hallway. They're obliterated. Powder, the glass dome, gone. Okay. So I'm really getting scared now, because we've never had this before. We got glass everywhere. There's damage here. Oh my God, Tina's here by herself and this happened. I can only imagine the fear she had, because she's gone. And I'm looking at all this stuff thinking, where in the heck is Tina? As I come downstairs, Tina pulls up the driveway about 30 minutes, an hour later, and she's fuming mad at me. She's fuming mad. I'm like, hey, what happened? Tell me what happened. She won't tell me because she's just mad. I've been trying to call you, for an hour, da 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 da. I've been trying to call you. Hey, slow down. Tell me what happened. No, you didn't answer your phone. You da da da. You was out with your friends, and all that da da da. And I, tell me what happened to me. She went up. She's just so mad. The next day, she finally told me. She's like, this is how it all played out. And how Tina said what happened. Tina was downstairs. She was at the kitchen. She was at the sink doing dishes. That's why the water was running.
Yep.
Okay. And as she's doing dishes and stuff, she hears a loud bang come from upstairs. A loud bang. So she, fearful, goes upstairs to investigate. But before she does, she says she tries to call or text me. You know, I'm not responding. She goes upstairs to the hallway. She's up in the hallway now. The lights are flickering off and on. The dome, the bulbs, you know, they're flickering off and on. To the point to where she walks to one right underneath it to get a closer look. And she's looking at it. And she says she's watching the lights go off and on when suddenly it explodes in her face. He said when that happened, blast and all that, she grabbed her car keys and zoomed out the house.
Was she injured?
No, they got her. She wasn't injured. She was shaken up, but luckily she was not cut or whatever. But the hallway was a mess. And she said she went, because now she's driving through the neighborhood. This just happened. And I can only picture, knowing Tina, how this must have unfolded. She got to the Fred Meyer parking lot, a few blocks down our neighborhood, and parked the car. It was calling me, but the phone was going to voicemail. And I had to tell Tina, because she was mad, because she thought I was ignoring her calls. And I had to show her my phone. I was like, hey, Tina, this is my phone. I have no missed calls from you. Now, I could see on her phone the many times she called me, the many times she texted me. But I had nothing on my end. You know, even if I don't answer a call, we all have cell phones, right? The software is going to tell you missed call. Mm-hmm. Somebody calls you 5 times. You got 5 missed calls. So put that little 5 next to the number. You got 5, or you got a voicemail, or you got text. I have nothing. My phone is fully charged. My battery, I said, hey, it never got to me. So I know they were playing both of us. I know when they haunted Tina in that instance, they broke the communication between her and me, you know, because it's going to happen again. But to me, now it's my turn. So a few days, that Saturday, I'm in my office, and I think Tina, I'm in my office, Tina is downstairs, and the TV in our bedroom comes on. Nobody's in the bedroom. And it's playing Katy Perry's song, Dark Horse. I don't know if you're familiar with that song, Dark Horse. It was a hit back in 2014.
Yep.
And
big Katy Perry fan. No, just joking, but I do know the song.
So I get up and go to the bedroom because there's loud music. Tina meets me there, and the TV is playing music, but it's not showing a picture. There's no picture. So, but it's on. And I turn the TV off. I'm like, that's weird. Okay. Now I know it's Katy Perry song because I know that much, but I'm not yet tuned in of what's really about to happen or what's happening right now. What's happening right now is Keith and Tina are being haunted, but they're delivering a message. So I go back to my office. Tina goes back downstairs. 5 minutes later, TV comes on again. Now keep the word, I said 5 minutes later, the same song comes on. Oh, Katy Perry's song. Yeah. Okay. And I'm like, oh. So we go into the room. Tina, come here. And the TV is playing that Katy Perry song again. And I'm like, oh, okay, all right. Then I know how it goes. Okay, I see how y'all want to do it. Okay. Well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to unplug the TV. How you like that? Yeah. I'm just going to cut the power because this is my house. I'm not having it today. And that's how it's going to work. So I go, but all right, all deal. Ha ha, gotcha. Go back to my office. Tina goes back downstairs. 5 minutes later, Katy Perry's song again, and we rush again. Now, I'm thinking when I get to my TV, I'm like, them sons of a bitch. They plugged the TV back in and turned it on. That's some audacity, right? That's like, well, okay, that's all right. I see how y'all want to be. See, what they're telling on the other end is, you're not paying attention to us, Keith. It's about to get bad for you and Tina. We don't plug stuff back in because the TV is playing music and the TV has no power source. I mean, it's not plugged into the wall. And then I hear the song and I'm like, wait a minute, Tina, wait. Something's going on here. Wait a minute. Katy Perry's song. So I go Google the song, the title, to pull up the lyrics, because every time we heard Katy Perry's song, the 3 times it did this, it was always at the verse of, are you ready for the perfect storm? Okay, that's her lyrics. That's what we're hearing through our television set blasting. Are you ready for the perfect storm? So you want to play with magic, I'm paraphrasing the love. So, and you should know what you're getting yourself into. So you want to play with magic because, are you ready for the perfect storm? That's the question in the lyrics. Yeah. And it says, because once you're mine, there's no going back. And I read it on the internet, and I'm hearing that. Because you understand, the song was coming from a music channel streaming through Comcast or cable, right? But it's still a song. It has to have a beginning and an end. And I think the song is 4 minutes, 35 seconds or whatever long. But the song is definitely not 15 minutes long, which would be, no, it would have to be 15 to 20 minutes between the time that this thing started and ended, because we had 3 instances of this and they were at 5-minute intervals. And it was always that lyric. It's not like you hear a song, you turn the volume down, wait 20 seconds, and you come back. The song is moved further 20 seconds into the song. It's not where you left it off and turn the volume. We're hearing the same verse over and over, 2 times when the TV is not even on. And that weekend was the Tina attack was one of those days. Saturday, the next day, was when the door was yanked off the bedroom, master bedroom. More lights fixtures exploded. Now we're in the house. More of the lights upstairs, and this time the wires yanked out. There's wire dangling. Loud banging, throwing of objects. And the first Bible fire. The first Bible that caught fire on Katy Perry weekend. 72, I think 48 hours, after that song played, it was when, I don't know if you saw the episode Ghost Adventures, when the Noble Paranormal team came to the home, because we had all that activity.
I've seen clips of it, and I heard that the Ghost Adventures investigation didn't go so well for you and Tina. So what happened when, and I'm not surprised to hear that, but what happened? Like, what happened once Ghost Adventures came?
Well, so to rewind, so Noble Paranormal 2 came that night, right? And stayed 11 hours with us and saw their sage stick light on its own. And then they left and we went to bed and were awakened up to the fire alarms going off. This time, there's a fire. There's illumination under the door. We open the door and there's the Bible. I forgot to mention that the Bible that we're seeing in 2014 that's on fire, flame on, was disappeared in 2012. It's been gone a year and a half. We did not know it was the Bible that went missing until I closed it and doused the fire and called the paranormal team back and said, hey, we got fire now. So now fire, there will be 3 or 4 or 5 more campaigns where fire is introduced to the haunting. That didn't happen in 2012. Fast forward to Ghost Adventures, because this is 2014. Ghost Adventures didn't come until November, December of 2014.
Mm-hmm.
And they came, but they were only in the home 5 hours. I mean, their investigation was only 5 hours long. But like all poltergeist cases, those who study poltergeist cases will tell you, if you ask them, the researchers of the world, one of the things that irks them, or pet peeve of theirs, is the response time of paranormal researchers as a whole is not quick enough to catch a lot of the manifestations that the homeowners are experiencing.
Absolutely, yeah. We see, Darryll and I, our background is we're parapsychologists, and we've been doing this, I guess, combined together over 50 years of experience. So absolutely, you're in there for 5 hours and nothing happens. Doesn't mean that the house isn't haunted. It just means that for the 5 hours that the Ghost Adventures was there, that they didn't witness anything, for sure.
And the activity had lessened by then. See, by the time paranormal teams respond, those that take you seriously, the bell curve, me and Tina, who have lived through hell, we're all now on the opposite side of the bell curve now. So the activity that comes in waves is now showing signs of lessening. So around October timeframe, the things are becoming less frequent, even more so by the time Ghost Adventures come. And also, there's documentation to support the theory that the spirits sometimes purposely go into dormant mode while bona fide or non-bona fide teams are present, as a way to make the household owners look a little bit over-exaggerating, a little bit of hoaxing, or, not necessarily maybe does some of the activity themselves to attract public attention, to get people in. So sometimes the poltergeist will go into dormant mode. As soon as the teams leave, resume where they left off, which happened to us a lot of times. I can tell you how many times we've had teams come in. They see a little bit of weird stuff, but they don't get the big wow stuff. They see a little bit of weird, little anomaly here and there, and that satisfies them. They believe us. I can tell you how many times I've had teams who can't even get to the stop sign or the red light 2 or 3 blocks away, and then objects start flying in the home. As if they know what they did. They're gone now. Okay, we can, do this stuff again. Because they know that the entities, they know. When Ghost Adventures told me before they arrived that they was only going to really conduct 5 hours, even I, having no paranormal background and living in this house at that time, 2 years or more, knew I doubt very seriously they're going to get anything based on the time frame that they're giving themselves. What I did not know was them not getting anything based on that short time frame is going to be orchestrated or construed in a way to make it look like we were hoaxing or faking or exaggerating, because we weren't. I've read enough cases post Bothell House to know, you're chasing lightning in a jar when it comes to the paranormal, and 5 hours is nothing. The teams who got most evidence in our house lived in it for weeks. One team lived in it for 3.5 weeks. That's a long time. When you live, there's something to be said about living in a location, not just visiting. Oh, we're here. Hey, we're out here at 3. No. When you wake up and you got your own room to yourself, shower and shave, brush your teeth, you become a part of the home environment. And there's a big case to be made of why living, at a location, some live 2.5 weeks. Steve and Dawn's from the UK. Nobody's going to fly from the UK and stay 5 hours. So they stayed 2.5 weeks. Nick Kyle, a week. Nick and Novell, the team stayed there 3.5 weeks. So that's the only best way to know. And that way, okay, you might experience a light going off or two. Then, yeah, you might yourself be taking a shower, brushing your teeth, and see a light. And they did. Yeah. So it was that way versus coming in with a time, an hourglass of, oh, I'm not going to be here. I got to go to work tomorrow morning. So.
No, I worked a case that sounds it has a lot of similarities actually to your case. I call it Evil in Exeter. It's a first book that I wrote, but I had experienced the same thing. There was times where the house was extremely active and there was a lot of activity going on, and then it would go through periods where it'd be 2-3 weeks and absolutely nothing. So I totally relate to what you're saying. So Ghost Adventures came, the episode aired. It wasn't aired in a very good fashion. They were trying to say that and I'm sure you've heard everything, especially you got a book out and you've been doing tons of podcasts and social media. Zach Baggins on Ghost Adventures, they kind of felt that it was a hoax or that there was nothing happening at the house. Which paranormal investigative teams that stayed the 2 and 3 weeks, what kind of evidence did they witness while they were there for that amount of time?
So Steve and Don came, I think it was January, February 2016. They uncovered or captured, I want to say, for 434 EVPs, Class B, Class A. It's not to say they didn't get Class C or D. They just disavowed those. They don't even publish those. But they were able to capture the Class A, what they considered Class A, Class B. They witnessed their own teleportation phenomena. There's a ball incident where the ball went through the legs of a chair, several legs of a chair. There was a time where Steve and Dawn saw the front door open and close on its own. Saw their cameras or my cameras be manipulated or turned completely around, which Steve documented in his book as to explain why a team like Ghost Adventures would not take this case seriously based on the fact that all Keith's evidence that he was publishing at the time seemed so after the fact, when I was always explaining in my videos that it was not like for trying, but you have to understand, they, meaning them, are watching me more than I watch them. I can't see them. So when I'm setting up a camera, a motion detection camera, and I get a notification, motion detected or something, and I go to that camera and the SD card is missing, or the camera is unplugged, or turned up on its side, or turned completely around, that was them. So they experienced that. They were able to vouch for that because it happened to them several times. They saw their own equipment malfunction. They were able to catch some anomalies with the EMF devices. And then the noises, the footsteps, things that we all sometimes consider anecdotal, but they would be sitting and then hearing the back and forth footsteps coming from upstairs, the electrical issues, the equipment malfunction.
Speaking of the electrical issues, I mean, this is definitely one common theme that I'm picking up on throughout your whole story, is there seems to be a lot of electrical activity. Did you ever have the house examined for any sort of electrical abnormalities? We do know that through some research in the parapsychological laboratories that excessive amounts of magnetic energy can cause people to experience haunting characteristics such as the sounds of footsteps or even seeing apparitions. Did you have anybody with any sort of electrical training examine the electrical in the house?
Well, but I mean, I've had electricians come in to, this is a new home, but I had them come in anyways, even paid out of pocket, to investigate the wiring. This is me being the troubleshooter that my profession has taught me. is to rule out the obvious. And I want the professional who get paid to do this to write it and document and give it to me that they can't find nothing wrong. You know, it's always weird. It's like you have a cough and the day you go to the doctor's office, no cough. Or to the car mechanic, hey, my engine light's on. And then you get to the engine light and hey, car's fine. That's what happened. That's what happened with Comcast, Xfinity, with the cable. You can swap out boxes all you want. You can swap out wiring. You can remove coaxial cable. Nobody can find what's wrong with Keith and Tina's cable. What's wrong with Keith and Tina's lights? What's wrong with Keith and Tina's garage? You know, the garage door automat. Why does that thing go up and down by itself? Sears come out of there. I'm paying money out of my own pocket and letting the landlord know. The phone, the power company, the electricity that feeds the house. We would have so many spikes, you know, and we would call the power company. And every now and then they would see something that, hey, only your house does that. Only your, so they would send trucks out. So now you got trucks on after trucks. So everything was inconclusive. Nobody could find, you know, same with the fire, the cop posted caught fire on my wall. I know it's not electrical, but it was a fire. I called the fire department. Even after I doused the fire, I still called them. They responded and they saw the poster. And they don't know how. Well, I mean, outside the obvious of you doing it yourself, which we don't think you did, you know, who calls and report, you know.
I saw that part. I saw that part in your video. Yeah, the poster. It was in your office. Is that correct?
It was in my office, and they could not write why, you know. So I know that in the back of their mind, poster card. That's just so everybody had these inconclusive or to be continued, and that's just one of the hallmarks of poltergeist hauntings. You know, our house, I don't know if you can see the house behind me, but you see the houses are very close knit, right? And when the other tenants in the neighborhood were interviewed, there was some interesting tales from them because they've been in the neighborhood longer. The one guy across the street came over one day when we first moved in and said, you know, nobody lives in that house long. You know, when Tina got the lights turned on in her name, and she called the power company, they said the same thing to her over the phone, customer service. Wow, nobody lives in this house long. So going back to your earlier question, because now we're in that time period where I did ask the homeowner, say, hey man, because the paranormal teams who are involved are now asking me to. And I was very nervous about asking them because I've had several fires, and I know if I'm a homeowner and you call me or I look on the news and my house is on fire,
yeah,
some guy talking about ghosts, I might want to evict them. I might try and get them out of there. So I was very nervous about calling, but I said, hey man, you know, we're hearing these loud bangs and stuff. And so I said, hey, has anybody ever reported to you anything going on, anything? And, you know, I've learned over time, especially with this case, some people, they won't volunteer the truth, okay? But they will tell it to you nonchalantly, and if you don't listen carefully, you could miss it. Mm-hmm. So I remember when I needed permission from him to bring Ghost Adventures in. You know, Ghost Adventures, Dave Schrader, like, hey, you're a renter, we need homeowners' permission. So I called the homeowner and I said, hey, this is what's been happening. And I had a whole folder. I sent him a whole folder of everything. I said, well, he's either gonna think I'm crazy and say, hell no, I don't want nobody in my house. I know. I said, no. I said, I got this house, an investment, it's a market. You're not killing my investment. So I thought he was gonna say no. Mm-hmm. And so Ghost Adventures thought he was gonna say no. But he came back and he said, hey, because I said, well, they want to come, permission. Do they have your blessing to do that? And if they do, they'll see you paperwork you got to sign. And he said, hey, yeah. He said, hey, Keith. Well, he was very apologetic. I said, hey, I'm sorry. that you and Tina are going through this. You have my permission to bring a team in to investigate and get to the bottom of it. And then he said something very peculiar that he didn't have to say, but he said it anyways. He closed his email to me with, he said, you know what? There's probably some nefarious spirits in there, in the home. So you have my permission to get them out of there. Now, when he said that, I thought that was, oh, okay, so he's already reached the conclusion like I have. Because you have to understand, we've now been in the house 2 years. Every time there was something that, like a maintenance, something, usually the homeowner responds, they come with a mechanic or whatever. He never came to the house. He would always say, hey, if you need a plumber there, if you need the dishwasher swapped out, you call and just send me the bill.
Okay, yeah. So, yeah, some homeowners decide to do it that way, yeah.
Yeah, so I thought that was weird. And then when I told him about the fires and stuff, I thought he would just want to do just a walkthrough, just say, hey, I just want to, what are you guys doing in my house? Especially when the wall writings are coming. I said, this guy's going to want to come inspect the house. And, there's a clause in the lease agreement where he could do that, get 48 hours notice that he could do that. He never did. The only time I saw the landlord, or we did, was the day, May 1st, 2012, when I moved in, and May 8th, 2016, when I moved out. I thought for sure that he would come when the investigators arrived, even just a wow factor, TV, bring his kid or something,
Yeah.
I thought he would come when the teams lived in the home, because I had to get permission for that. When they lived in the home 3.5 weeks, and then the other team lived in the home 2.5 weeks. He never came. He knew of it. And then when it went public and made the international, went viral and all that, it was on Seattle News for weeks at a time. He didn't do that. But I want to talk about Rhonda, because Rhonda cannot be overlooked, the previous tenant, whom I did discover. Remember, going back to the mail, a letter came in the mail. This is not something I found in a drawer. This came in my mailbox.
Okay. So legitimately was delivered by the postman.
Yeah.
Or postwoman. Yeah.
It was labeled Rhonda Jimenez is her name. And I didn't want to give it to the homeowner right away. So I said, you know what? I'm going to see if I can find this person on the internet, meaning Facebook. So I searched for her and found her, and was very glad that her wall, the way her profile was set up, it's so open, meaning that you don't have to be a friend of hers on Facebook to see her wall.
Yep.
Like mine, you have to be a friend to see my wall, but for her, so I was going through, being Mr. Investigator, I said, aha. I went to the time period of when she lived in the Bothell House, because people that be status updates. I want to see if I can see poster or pictures, parties or things or whatever. You can learn a lot from somebody's wall. So I went to that time period when she was in the house, 2008, 2009, and she was very, very depressed. She would write on her wall about her husband. He was an Alaska fisherman who was gone all the time. So it was just her and her 3 kids. But one of her kids was sick, had meningitis. And she's like, hey, I think today is my last day. Not him, her. I think today is my last day. She was feeling suicidal. Her friends are like, hey, girl, pray, be strong, da-da-da-da-da. You gotta maintain, you gotta get through this. They were very religious. And she's like, I don't know if I can take it anymore. I'm feeling depressed, da-da-da-da-da. So I emailed her. I said, hey, my name is Keith Linder. I live in the house that you used to live in. And I asked some questions for you. And I was like, hey, and I didn't tell her what we were. I said, hey, we have some weird things happening. I said, can you, Rhonda, while you were living in the home, did you ever experience anything weird? And I remember, I think it was a day or so or whatever, she replied back to me. I get a ding ding, and I leaped out of my chair and ran to my computer because Brown is responding. The moment of truth again. This is gonna make or break. This is gonna be a big deal. Regardless of the answer, this is gonna be a big deal.
All right, guys, that's all the time that we have for this episode of the Dueling Parapsychologist podcast. But stay tuned. We'll release part 2 of Keith Linder's experience at the Bothell Hell House. Just a couple of announcements to make. I just want to remind everybody that the Halifax Paranormal Symposium will be held Saturday, October 7th of this year, 2023, from 9 a.m. until 6 p.m. Tickets are available right now, ppri.net/tickets. We have released all the remaining tickets that we had being held, and there's still room for 2 vendor tables. If anyone's interested, you can go to ppri.net/vendors. We'll finish this podcast off with a couple of electronic voice phenomena. As Keith mentioned, some of the paranormal investigators had captured over 400 EVPs, some of them very clear. These 2 are very interesting. I listened to them, and you'll actually get to hear the investigators' feedback on them as well. So stay tuned. Give us a like, subscribe to our YouTube page, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter to get all the latest parapsychological information.
Now, at this point, Don's asking, is there a memory card in the device? Where is it?
I'm going to put it in there, hold on. Wait, it isn't here. Sorry, it isn't here. I'll do this again. I'll do this again now.
Did you hear it? It's a camera. It's a camera. It's very, very clear. Other ones, we heard a voice. It said, I love her. Just come out the blue. I love her. It sounded like a female voice, again caught on the recordings. And then the next bit, which is quite quirky, actually, because Don had asked me to do this shoot 3 times. And now, for the 3rd time, all I had to do was go to the front door, open the door, and walk in. And he said, no, do it again, let's do it again. And it just ended up the 3rd time. But the first response seemed to be a female voice. There were no females there, only myself and Don at that time. I love her. And the second one, it said, on 3. It was interesting. Let me play the clip.
Straight come back, come down. We're going straight out. I've got a lighter.
There's the I love her.
I'm on stage, we need to go out together.
And there's an on 3 in the background. Now, when we play these and analyze them, we're getting these type of vocals across the cameras, and we don't know where they're coming from. It's interesting to know that they didn't get it on the microphones. The microphones that were set up, the parabolics that pick a pin drop up at 30 feet, didn't get them, and they should have done. But how did it get on the cameras? How did the audible get on the camera?
Just one final comment here before we let you go. With respect to those electronic voice phenomena, I know Darryl's not a big believer in electronic voice phenomena, and rightfully so. There are 4 different theories that parapsychologists have with respect to EVPs. The first is, what we all hope, is that it's a discarnate entity trying to communicate with the living, which is captured on a recording device. One other theory is that it's telepathy, whether it's from somebody else at the house, one of the investigators, somebody nearby, as ESP in the parapsychological laboratories has shown that distance doesn't affect extrasensory perception. So therefore, theoretically, it could be somebody's thoughts being recorded on the recording device. The third theory is what's called audio pareidolia, and that's when the brain tries to make sense of something that is nonsensical, or for example, in EVPs, when we hear something, our brain is trying to figure out what those words are, and that's why it's always difficult when somebody tells you what the EVP says before you hear it yourself. Usually you tend to hear what they've suggested to you. And lastly is interference. I actually had a case on Facebook where 2 guys were chatting back and forth with the voice app, and they captured some interference from somewhere, some other conversation or wherever. So that's the problem with EVPs. scientifically, they don't prove that ghosts exist, unless there's other factors. There's all kinds of other stuff going on, and then you happen to capture an EVP. But why I'm commenting on this one is it's very interesting what the investigators say. He said that it was recorded on certain recording devices and not others, which is typically what those of us, I guess, that believe in electronic voice phenomena do see, is that for whatever reason, if you've got an audio recorder and a camcorder going, it might get picked up on one and not the other. Now, there are some scientific facts on why that could also happen. It includes the sensitivity of the recording device, the location of where the two recording devices are, and of course, audio pareidolia also plays a factor in that as well. But assuming that the two devices, I always put the two devices close together, assuming that they're close together within the same general proximity, both should record the voice if it's somebody talking and not just one. So I do find those two electronic voice phenomena that we shared with you to be quite interesting. I'm sure Darryll will disagree. At the end of the second part of this interview, we are going to probably do a little discussion on this case, and we'll give you our thoughts. Till next time. Take care.
The Dueling Parapsychologist Podcast, an educational and entertaining podcast with Canadian parapsychologists Elliott Van Dusen and Darryll Walsh. To reach out to the Dueling Parapsychologists, see our Facebook page, Twitter, and Instagram accounts, or email us directly at info@ppri.net.